Hello, and welcome to A Place to Call Home. It's our weekly show where we have some interesting topics. My very special guest live in studio with me today is Joseph Prejean, who's a motivational speaker, and he's my friend. He's written a new book. It is entitled One More Mountain, and it is basically about his life story. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm always excited about coming, especially meeting you. We never see each other as much as we used to, but just excited to give my message to the people and get the younger generation to understand there's no mountain that you can't climb.
That's right, and you've been through a lot in your life. In reading the book, I found out a lot of things about you that I didn't know. One of 16 children,
Yes, my mom had 17 children, and
17
and
children.
uh, 7 of them died a month or 2 months after they was born, a set of twins, and then but 10 of us lived fully, and I'm the last of 17 children. So I always tell people God left me here to give a message to. I got a lot to do.
Yeah. And in the course of your life, you grew up in the foster care system and went through a lot as a baby almost.
Yes. You know, growing up in the foster system, I'm excited that it have changed a lot, but we still have a lot of work to do. People have to open up their heart and invite kids into their home, especially when they got too much of food for themselves. They must give to other kids that need food. The foster home I was raised in was a tough home. We worked sun up to sundown. We went through a lot of ups and downs, and it was 14 kids in there with the same problems. Didn't know why we was there, didn't know how we was going to make it, and didn't know much about faith at that time.
Did you ever get to meet any of your siblings?
Yes, I got to meet all 10 of my brothers and sisters because what the state would do, they would bring us a visitation. I would come from Haverville and I would go right there in Lafayette, and they would have a small room that we all would visit. I met my mom maybe 3 or 4 times before she died in a control visit. And my dad, I met him when he died. When he died, I went to the funeral, and that was it. I never met my dad, my grandparents, or none of that. But my sisters and brothers, I had one brother that was raised with me in the foster home, and him and I was raised together. And he's passed away. He was the youngest of all of us.
Oh, Joseph Prejean, One More Mountain is the name of his book. It's his story of survival and courage and success. And we are so proud of you, young man, just to know that God has brought you a mighty long way. You know, we hear a lot about climbing mountains and asking God to help us move that mountain and all of that. And we like to let you know that we serve a God so big that we can speak to that mountain and say, "Look, mountain, this is how big my God is." But it's a wonderful work. I also understand in one of those foster homes, as a young boy, you ended up in the pepper fields picking canine peppers and
We and the foster home I was in, I mean, we had acres of okra, we had cayenne pepper, we had Tabasco pepper. So the young kids today are truly blessed. You wake up, you make sure your mama got all your stuff done. We didn't have that pleasure at that time. We woke up, we had cows to milk, we had pigs and chicken to feed, we had cows to feed. So we got to school stinking many a times because we had to do that and be ready to catch the bus. And you ate what was available, which was cornbread and milk. There was no such thing picking what you want to eat.
and I know that that journey in your life made you a better man today.
Yes, I take a lot out of a foster home. We had a lot of bad times. We got whipped every day, and we worked hard. We worked sun up to sundown. And imagine yourself walking down a road because the road that I lived on, there was big cane farmers, there was big people with money, a lot of money, and the kids went to school at 15, driving new vets and new trucks and everything else. And imagine yourself walking down that dark road when even the dogs wouldn't bark at you and people wouldn't look at you and you didn't fit in. That's the life I came up with. That I was in a foster home out there, and everybody down Grove Hill say, "Hey, he's beneath us,"
Yeah.
you know. And in a way, I've always been the outstanding person that truly believed that somebody loved me up there because every time I was at my worst, a light shined in my mind and in my heart, and I was able to overcome at that moment whatever I needed to overcome.
I also read in the work that you were on both sides of the law. a policeman. What city was that?
Abbeville. I worked in Abbeville and Gaydon.
Abbeville, Louisiana, Gaydon,
Yeah.
Louisiana, worked as a policeman. So how did that happen? Where did that come from?
It's amazing. In school, when I went to school, I've been out of school since I was 15. And I got put out of school after getting in the fight. And guess what? In the foster home, you get put out of school. That's another work in the fields. They didn't care. When I got out of school, the foster care said we need to do something. So I started going to trade school as a diesel mechanic. And I met people there and they say, man, you're a big guy, because I started working out. Now, people say nowadays you have to work out to get healthy, and that's very true. But back then I worked out to get girls, because people wouldn't give me the time of day. My hair was bad, my teeth was yellow, and my clothes was bust, and I had no money. So I had to learn how to speak to people in order to convince girls just to say hello. So I started working out and everything else, and a young man that I knew had wanted to put me on the reserve as the police department. So I went there and I got on, and I lied to him. They say, well, fill out this application and everything else. And when they said high school diploma, I checked yes. And as time went by and I got on as a regular police officer, somebody was very upset at me. So they found out that I didn't have a GED and I didn't have a high school diploma. So I was truly, truly blessed at that time in my life to meet Charles Campbell, which was a great guy. He passed away a few years back. He done so much for the community. Charles said, look, I'm going to help you get your GED. He said, you need to come here every day, and I'm going to help you get it. So the chief gave me a certain amount of time to get it, and I worked hard. Now, you have to understand, I got my GED, but I didn't learn how to read and write about 25 years ago to actually be able to read.
Really?
Yes. People was floored whenever I said I got on the police department and I couldn't read that much and I couldn't write that well. When I did an accident, I would keep one good accident report and I would just follow the thing, just put the different information. So I've had to learn a lot on my own, and if you didn't know me, you wouldn't know that I didn't have a high school diploma.
Right. Abbeville, Gaydon. That was the good side of
Yeah.
the law. All right. Let's move on in the journey and tell me about the bad side of the law and how that all
Well,
came to
I
be.
left the police department because I truly feel like I didn't want to participate in something I didn't believe in. The police department, they have some great officers out there, and they had some of them that, back then in them days, when I moved in Gaydon, you got to understand, black people, African American people could not go in the clubs. They had to go buy liquor from the back. At that time in my life, I said, wow, I can't believe it. In that year that was still going on. I left the police department and I decided to open up a business called Prejean Small Engine Repair. And like a young man that never had money and never had attention, I started saying, well, look, I'm going to make a lot of money in this business. And I was making a ton of money. And I did what a lot of people make mistakes. And I think our younger generation makes it more than our older generation. The mistake of falling in love with money. And when you fall in love with money, it makes you do things you should never try to do. Because if you research it, a lot of people that get in trouble is because they want more money. So when I fell in love with money, I got in trouble selling bikes across the state line and getting in trouble trying to make more money, more money, more money. And then one day I had that ultimate knock at the door, and there was a detective come see me and said they had a warrant out for you. You need to go check on it. And I went. They didn't have it at the time, but they finally served the warrant. And it's amazing how life is. People, and I want to definitely make it a point to say how amazing life is. It's amazing when you're on top, everybody loves you. Everybody was coming to my house when I had my business to get things fixed, do things. It was wonderful. But when I fell down, Portia, it was like falling in the gutter.
All by yourself.
And it's amazing because when I fell down, I was married at the time. When I fell down, I had a 5-year-old daughter. Nobody cared about me at that moment. I went to prison, and it was so politically, and there's no doubt about it. It was so politically my case. My bond was $1 million. Now, you tell me, if you don't take a life, why should your bond be $1 million? And when the lawyer came see me and said, hey, you're going to be able to make bond? I said, $1 million unless you give me the money. And then when we got around to the system with the judges, and I was talking to my lawyer, I was truly blessed to have a lawyer that came, and through the grace of God, it was definitely God, through Father Chester Arsenault that helped me, a priest friend of mine. he was one of them that came see me in prison on a regular basis. He believed in me when nobody believed in me.
I read that, and he bought you a pair of
He
pants.
bought me money. He
What-
bought me money. He bought me clothes that I could go to the parole board, because if he wouldn't have brought me clothes, I didn't have any clothes. I lost everything I owned. I didn't have nothing. I didn't have what a lot of people have now, mothers that truly love them crying at the jail, putting money on my books. I didn't have nothing. I didn't have a father pat me on the back and tell me that, hey, Joe, is going to be okay. So I was alone. Father Chester stepped up. You see, and that's what's so good about being spiritual. When God knows I'm going to send you someone that's going to believe in you. And still today, we are best friends. I was with him this morning. So, I mean, he came and he always kept my head up. He made me believe that, Joe, this is something you got to go through. And when you're in jail, you get lost. People don't believe that. You know, everybody hear the stories about people, or they read the Bible, they save. Let me tell you something. Jail ain't that complicated. It's when you get out, what you're going to do with the knowledge.
That's right.
You know, people say, you know, jail is tough. Yes, it's tough because you can't do the things you want to do. But when you leave jail, that's when the real world set in. That's when if you had a drug problem and you go out there, you still have to face that. If you have a place where you live where the environment ain't good, you still have to face that. But I truly believe jail helped you to step back sometimes. Reflect on who was positive in your life. Always get you to reflect that God got a plan for you. So the only way you beat people and you do great things in life, when you're in jail, come out and do great things for all people.
That's right. And look at God, because now you are the owner of several businesses. Big Papa's Fitness Gym. You're a motivational speaker. You go in and outside of the jails. The governor has appointed you to
The reentry program.
the reentry
Never been done.
reentry program here in the state of Louisiana. So helping people who are getting out of jail, helping to reduce that recidivism of going
Right.
in and out, in and out, in and out. So I want to know, Joe, what do you tell these, when you speaking to some of these people, and I know that you've spoken to a lot of powerful groups, what is your message?
My message is that your dreams are not for sale. Listen, if you have a car and you sell it to your neighbor or you sell it down the road, you can't go get that car and use it when you want it. Your dreams are not for sale. I truly believe the greatness in each and every one of us, the only one could pull it out of us is ourselves. I mean, I was truly blessed to be appointed to that position. But I tell people the story about 15 Judicial Court, which is the DA in Lafayette, Vermilion, and Crowley. This was the parishes, this was the district attorney that sent, this was the parish that sentenced me. Now do they pre-child diversion program. So you tell me how powerful God is. But the message you need to get to everybody out there, whether you're young or old, that nobody's perfect. We're going to make mistakes, but we got to make better choices. Families got to talk to their children. We got to start at the dinner table. We can't let nobody else come and control our household and change our vision. We need to follow our dreams. We need to be committed. We need to be committed to our future. Each and every one of us, you, me, and everybody else, we all got to do our part. If we don't do our part, if I open up that fitness gym and I'm on the board for reentry and I teach a lot of pretrial diversion and I speak for a lot of major companies, I speak at colleges, if I don't do my part, where I'm not part of the solution, I'm part of the problem.
Well, Joe, here's a question. With all the things that's happening around the country, with policemen and, these youth in the community and that kind of thing, what do you think of, what is happening?
Let me break it down to where most people could understand it. First thing, it ain't all policemen's bad. I've been a policeman and I've been in prison. I had the opportunity still to have a bunch of relationships with some great policemen. They have some great officers out there. And being an officer is a tough job. But I told officers just the other day, the toughest job I had, and they asked me, what was the hardest thing you had to deal with of being a policeman? I said, being black. He said, well, why would you say that? Because when you're black, if you stop a white kid, you shouldn't be stopping me. If you stop a black kid, you're an Alcaton. It's difficult for every officer. But the only way we're going to change what's going on in our community is to be involved in our community. The only way we're going to change that, look, we can't blame everybody We can't blame the policemen for all the problems that's going on. Your politicians that sit there and they come sit in your office and believe and tell you, hey, what we're going to do, we're going to help the community, we're going to help it. You need to make them accountable. Don't come sit in my chair anymore. Don't come and sell me a dream, because you know what? You can't sell me a dream that I can't go get. We got to make those people accountable. You got to make your councilmen accountable. You have to make your police department accountable. And let me tell you something. I'm a true believer. I don't need the policemen to come raise my children. I'm going to raise my children. I'm going to sit at the dinner table and tell them what's right or wrong. And we have to do that. You know, you can't be a young mother. And I understand young mothers struggle. I understand fathers, some of them are doing their best. I understand that. But you know what? Every time I've done my best, I've tried to do more. Because it's never enough. I have 2 children. And it's never enough I can do. Every morning, every night, I go home, I go kiss my son, I get up in the morning, I get up at 4 o'clock, I go open up my gym at 5. I go back home as a purpose to bring my son to school. You know why? Because it's important to me. It's important what goes through his mind. What's important, the first words that he hears in the morning from his mother, his father, should be positive. If we don't do that, they have great kids out there. Bust pants and bad hair, they got great kids out there. But if nobody don't tell them that they're great, they'll never know.
And you have a wonderful wife, Miss Juanita Prejean, Mrs. Louisiana,
America, yes.
America. And what year was that?
She was there 2015.
2015, and
yes.
then went on to the Miss America pageant.
And won the Miss Figure America
Fitness.
out of 52 women.
She won the Miss Fitness.
Miss Figure America. She
Okay.
won that. And people look at it, and people come up to me all the time and say, huh, the prettiest part of that marriage is her. But they really, really, Miss Portia, through all respect, they don't know the best part of her. She's the hardest working person I know. She's passionate. She's got a good heart. And most of all, she carried me when I can't carry myself.
I read that was your soulmate.
She is my soulmate. Look, let me tell you something. Many times at night when I went through ups and downs, when I met her and just reflect on what done happened to me, she always keep me focused on what's important.
It makes a person feel good to know a man loves his woman.
Oh, my
Tell me a little bit about Kingston.
Oh my God. And sometimes you have to forgive me because as a motivational speaker, I go speak out there and I talk about my son. It touches my heart when I say this because it makes me want to tear up. Let me tell you something. When I go wake him up or I go get him in his room when he's crying because he had a bad dream, or he look at me and he don't look at the color of my skin. He don't look at me that I've been in the rough foster home or I've been in the penitentiary. He look at me as his father. He tells me every day, for the first time in my life, I got somebody that tells me 2 or 3 times a day how much he loved me.
I love you, Daddy.
Every day. And it makes me feel alive because I know he loves me. And the touching part about him, his character. He look at himself and he say, I'm his hero. He want to be just like me. And I tell people, they say, man, when you going to write another book? Or I say, man, give me a little time. But I say the best book that's going to ever be written, going to be written by my son when I leave.
The book is entitled One More Mountain. You can get it on Amazon.com. You can get it at Big Papa's
You can
Fitness
drop in at
Gym.
Big Papa's Fitness Gym. The best thing about getting in at Big Papa's Fitness Gym, you get a signed autograph.
You didn't sign mine, but
But
I'll
I'm going
make
to
you
sign it before I leave.
But I do. What's next? What's next?
Well, look, even at my age, I have dreams. I'm hoping to get on a national level of motivational speaking. I love doing that. I want to change lives. We used to do mobile gym on wheels for the elderly. I like to bring that
That was
back.
a wonderful program.
And I did that. I started that underneath my garage, me and my wife. And I want to bring that back.
Through
Because
the Lafayette Housing Authority?
through the Lafayette Housing Authority. And let me tell you something. When I was doing that program, the Housing Authority was such a big part of it. And they jumped aboard. They was eager. Mr. Guillory jumped aboard and said, hey, man, he want to do something for the community instead of just sit behind office.
For the senior citizens
For
in
the
the
senior
community.
citizens. And he was 100% aboard for that. So I thank him for that because they wouldn't have never have an opportunity if it wouldn't have been for Mr. Guillory to even hear about that program.
What kinds of things did you do for those seniors?
Well, we drove out there. We played old music. We talked about health and fitness. We talked about how they could be motivated from arthritis. We help them exercise. They do the treadmill. They did weights. They danced. And most of all, they heard from somebody besides family how special they was, how good their story was, how great of a grandparent they was. So, and they
and
needed
they
that
exercise
every day.
every day.
They loved it, and that's a program that I think that they should push back. But like I said, I definitely want to keep up my motivational speaking. I want to come out with another book, but I want everybody to hear my story. But most of all, I want people to be excited when I go speak. I want when they leave from hearing me speak, I want them to go out there and say, I could do whatever I want to do because he started from the bottom and he made it to the top of that mountain.
And when you go into these jail cells in the Lafayette Parish Jail and other jails around, how do you look at a man?
I went speak in Pollock, Louisiana, which is a federal prison.
Right?
To
I've been there.
almost 400 inmates. They got more than that, but I did 400. And it was standing ovation. And I got the men to feel like men. I got them not to be discouraged about their sentence or their time. Their time at that moment is to regroup, truly believe, to prepare themselves for the outside.
And somebody once told me it's like as long as you got a date behind your name,
Yes.
there's hope.
That's a lot of hope for a lot of people. Even the time that I had, I did 3 years, even the time I had, when I realized, I said, wait, the judge didn't give me life. I got a date, I'm going to be free. Father would remind me that all the time, but I couldn't see that. When I figured out that I have a date to go out there and do great things, that gave me courage. I did it day by day. And let me tell you something. A lot of people, and each and every one of us, got a family member, got a friend, got somebody we know that made bad choices and ended up in prison. I challenge you today to help them, to prepare them for the outside. Prison for them ain't that tough, maybe not seeing you. But when they get out the outside, the world is tough, but you could make it if you truly believe in yourself.
And visit them.
They don't look. I tell you what, visitation. You know what? I always talk about a mother's love. I don't think that's anything powerful. I didn't have a mother. My mother died when I was 15, and she gave us away when we was real young. But let me tell you a little bit. Take a little time to tell you about a mother's love. That's the women that's crying to the lawyers and the DA. That's the woman that's not taking a high blood pressure medicine or cutting on a Social Security check to put money on your books. That's the one that's calling a neighbor or somebody to give her a ride to travel to the prisons to see you. Ain't nothing more powerful than a mother's love.
That's right. If you need information on the pretrial diversion program here, please contact him. Give him your phone number.
You can contact me at 896-5380, which is at my fitness gym, or you can reach me at CNA Services, 417-1536. I tell everybody, pretrial diversion is one of the best programs that they ever came out with. Because let me tell you something, it gives you an opportunity. If I wish I would have had the opportunity to take pretrial diversion, it gives you an opportunity not just to clean your record, but it gives you an opportunity to prove that, hey, look, I made a bad choice. I could do better.
That's what it does, and we are certainly hoping that more people embrace that program, so they can contact you for that. If you need a motivational speaker, this man is great for those youth in the community. Buy his book. It's a wonderful story. One More Mountain.
Or they can contact me on Facebook at Joseph A. Prejean and Instagram. So please, I've always, and we're going to start putting more messages on our Facebook, on our website, just to give you encouragement. I want you to go to my website in the morning like a fresh cup of coffee and read my Instagram and read what I have to say, because I think it's something positive that you can use all day.
And our love goes out to Kingston and to
thank
Juanita.
you so much. Thank you so much.
And happy blessings to you always. Thank
Portia,
you
it's always
so
a pleasure to
much.
be with you. That's funny. It look like we can't get out of each other's life, huh?
I know. Thank you so much for coming on the show today and being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. And I want to thank everybody that's going to be looking at this show. I want to hope that you start off 2017 with a positive message to follow your dreams and your dreams not for sale.
That's right. I'm going to have a great 2017. I don't care about the election or anything else that happened. I have made up in my mind.
Yep, because we take our walk. As long as we walk with God, we're going to do great things.
That's right. Thank you so much for being here. That's going to wrap up our program for today. And we'll be back again next time, next week, with another guest and something else. In the meantime, you be blessed and bye bye.